Liz, welcome.
Thank you, MD.
You ready for this?
I am. You are always sunshine, and it's going to be a fun journey here.
If it wasn't the beginning of summer, I would have worn my yellow hoodie.
Oh, I wish you would.
Just to bring the sunshine and the memories. So before we get started on this thing, the thing that we cannot get back is time.
Yes.
And I so always appreciate our time. Always. So I have a gift for you.
A gift.
I do. Because we are also, book nerds. I wanted to get you one of my favorite books lately.
Okay.
And that I hope you don't have yet, but it's a great one.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I don't, and I was just really jealous because I've watched Mel Robbins' just little reels, and I am so intrigued, so I can't wait to read this.
So I've read it twice now, and it's truly such not the original thought. Like, she took the let them theory that was originated back in the 60s from this other author, but she put the Mel Robbins shtick on it. And it just, with the let them theory, I think in where we are in society today, where people are so caught up in right or wrong move, or even building your own personal brand, you get caught up in, you can put it down on the floor, it's fine, get out of your way. That you get caught up in trying to live a life that is making everybody around you like you, and you lose your authenticity. Mm-hmm. And when you live this life created under the pretense of kind of setting yourself up for disappointment by expecting them to operate in the way that you would, but they're not you.
Yeah. By
letting people on actions, this is who they've revealed themselves to be, then I know where to categorize them.
Yeah.
And whether I think they're close or I think they should just tailgate my life, which is cool, But the way that she kind of articulated that was, and I think the underlying message was, as we let others be themselves, actions of the separator, it also allows us to let ourselves be ourselves.
Yeah.
Because once you start living without expectations, instead really referencing actions, you then start to look at your own actions.
Yep.
And are they aligning with who I'm thinking people need me to be, or who I actually am?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Heard an interesting definition of frustration last week that has stuck with me. Is frustration happens when expectations don't meet reality. Or reality don't meet expectations.
And frustration is really, it's kind of the overcoat of anger.
Yeah.
And anger is really a byproduct of being hurt.
Yep. Breaking trust.
We're going to touch on that too. You and I go back a ways. Our paths crossed in the fire.
Yeah.
Really. And didn't know much about you, but what I garnered from that first time that you and I connected was a lot of hope in where we were at that time. But as what I so found was, which was amazing, was how similar you and I are. Mm-hmm. And when you start to kind of get a feel for somebody and how they're thinking, how they're operating, and it's like this connection of wires that is like, okay, that makes sense. This is what it's like. This became this really amazing symbiotic exchange of, I get you, I got you.
Yeah.
And that was one of the coolest things, I think, for me, where that first happened was, I get you, I got you.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time I actually met you?
No.
You were working front of house at Vintage Park.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I came in with my now son-in-law, Grayson.
Yes, that's right.
And I already had mad respect for you because I had seen, if you say actions are the separator, I'd say influence is the magic sauce, right? That ability just to come in and influence. And I had already seen the impact of you working with Tilted on both the people and the product and the production. So I already had mad respect. But then to be humble enough to come in and say, hey, we need help at a storefront, I'm going to be there, just was that cherry on top.
I didn't know any different, you know?
Yeah.
Because I never looked at anything as a role play of power. It was just whatever needs to be done needs to be done.
Yep.
You know?
Entrepreneurial spirit. Make it happen.
And entrepreneurship as it's, I remember somebody said in the 60s that just meant you're unemployed. Which
I think it still kind of means that right now.
I'm an entrepreneur. Really? Yeah, I love it. But
I'm a serial entrepreneur. What does that mean?
At the core, it's a problem solver.
Yeah.
Right? You take ownership of something and you solve the problem. Where I think at scale where it's kind of been misappropriated is people think they have to be the CEO of something to have that badge of honor of success, when there are so many people that I think have attempted that CEO, that solopreneurship, that are truly incredible number twos.
Yeah.
And that's where they thrive.
Yeah.
Because it's not in them to carry the full weight, because that CEO role is immense.
Yeah.
It's not the allure that people think it is. Yeah. Because it consumes you.
Yeah.
It takes everything you've got.
Absolutely.
And I heard, and I don't remember who said this, but entrepreneurship, especially business ownership, is really a journey of self-discovery.
That's fair.
Because if you don't evolve and you don't grow and you don't remain humble to that journey, then you're going to be stuck. But it demands that you evolve. It demands that you remain a student of yourself and of the world around you.
Absolutely.
Or else you'll crumble.
Yeah.
You know, but again, not everybody really is meant. Doesn't mean you don't have the gifts. You're just not meant for that, for you to really thrive.
Well, it goes back to strengths, is that all of us have different strengths, and sometimes entrepreneurs are great visionaries, and they see how the problem can get solved and what the solutions are, but making the trains run on time is a completely different skill set. So that's why those number twos are so critical to be alongside those visionaries. But as a solopreneur, that's tough, right? When you're expected to wear all hats. That's why you've got to have a great inner circle and resources and people and thought partners that can help you still stay in your strength zone.
When did you first kind of have that aha of really the power of that circle?
So I'll tell you, I was working with MyFitFoods initially. His original founder was a tremendous visionary. The partner that he found over time, because he was having trouble running and scaling the business, was an incredible implementer. They had the business just starting to blow up when, I made a phone call to the founder, was in a transitional year period, and thought I was going to go do one thing. And, once the phone rang, he had a very different vision of what I could do for the organization, which turned out to be true. And I came in as that operations partner with experience of creating processes and scaling brands and really being both team-centric and customer-centric, and the thing blew up. But if you take like Lencioni's 6 types of working geniuses, we were all in our geniuses. And, the 3-legged stool was real. And I didn't realize it at the time. I don't think you'd get learnings in the moment. It takes time and reflection sometimes to really get the true lesson out of the story. But looking back, you're like, wow, that's why that worked.
What do you mean the 3-legged stool?
So when you look at how a structure is most stable, the most stable structure is 3 legs, as a tripod, as a triangle.
Pyramid, yeah.
A pyramid. So when you've got that stability, it really helps moving things forward. And sometimes, just if you're taking in the element of 2 partners, is there's not a tiebreaker between 2 partners. And, a lot of times the third person either can be a mediary, can be, let's look at different perspectives. I love the analogy of, it's a piece of paper and it's a 6 if you look at it one way, and it's a 9 if you flip the paper over and look at it the other way. And a lot of times we come into things with our own perception of what it looks like. And if we are stuck in our ways and not open to other people's perceptions or point of views, we miss a lot.
We do. Ego.
Fear, power, ego are the 3 that tend to take us down.
I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's intentional. I think it again, it's personal development.
Yeah.
But when you take the position of, if this is my company, I have to know everything, then I think that's where you kind of become your worst enemy in the process.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the right people around you because I've seen in the beginning, people will surround themselves with people that can help move the mission along up until the ego kind of starts to realize, look at the thing I've created. And now they begin to put too much trust in their own ability that they don't realize they got there because of a group of people, not because of one.
Yeah.
But then they don't maintain that because they're afraid of being wrong. So they end up having yes men, or they've created a culture of yes men because they've been shut down.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Fear, power, and ego.
Fear, power, and ego.
Every time.
But again, I don't think it's where people start.
No, it happens slowly. And, there's that old adage of boiling the frog. Take a hot pot of water. I don't think it's really true, but I always think back to it as things happen slowly in 1 degree increments. You don't even realize change is happening until it's, monumental.
Slowly gaslit over time.
Yeah.
And you just kind of pull back. Why bother?
Yeah. And our brain lies to us, right? Our brain sees what we want to see. So if we're sitting in a position where we think it's important that it looks like we know everything, or we're the sole accomplisher of a task or objective or goal, then our brain will pull in information that supports what we think.
What's a lie that you used to listen to?
I think that there's a lot, right? So, that's a pretty deep question to get back into. We could unpack that one all day long. But, I think that other people want to put limits on you. And, right, wrong, or indifferent is, I think the lies that I've had to overcome the most are what other people perceived or wanted me to be, that I had to not believe.
And so you fell into that, and then you kind of realized what was happening, and you're like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Was it hard for yourself to kind of put your foot down and create that boundary?
I think it just takes a point where you've got enough evidence that tilts the scale in a different direction.
Gotcha.
And sometimes that evidence is just your own self-awareness.
Yeah.
Other times it's good thought partners or good friends or different perspectives or different insights.
Oh,
sometimes it's someone that believes in you more than you believe in yourself.
100%. Isn't that the actual core element of being a good leader?
100%.
I just prefaced one of my questions.
Oh, no.
I better be quiet. So for everybody that's listening, to give you a little context who this special guest is today, it is Liz Townsend. When you look at her LinkedIn, it takes you a second because, and I think it's hard for anybody to look at themselves on paper and realize, holy shit, I can't believe this has been my career.
Yeah.
When you kind of concise it into 1 page, 2 pages, and then how do you really communicate what I've learned and what I believe I've been as a person of impact?
Yeah.
For those that don't know Liz, a daughter, a wife, mom, passionate about the home and the family and the kids.
Absolutely.
Public speaker, business advisor, leadership and executive coach. For a little history, for those that are listening, of the power and influence of the things she's saying today, she was the chief operating officer of MyFitFoods. At that time, when it first entered the market, the fastest growing direct-to-consumer meal prep retailers, where it went from a personal trainer kind of making your boiled chicken and rice to making in bulk in retail stores meals that were ready. You just heat and eat.
Absolutely.
And all the macros were done. And I was a customer for about 2-3 years when I was a bodybuilder. Preceding that, you were the regional vice president of 24 Hour Fitness, and you directed operations of their over 70 locations and over 800 trainers. But you really grew with them.
Absolutely.
When you came into 24 Hour, how big of a company was that?
5. They just opened their 5th, or were opening their 5th location. They had this tiny little kitchen on Houston Avenue that wouldn't even have enough capacity for the trash, so they'd haul the trash in vans after production cooking. Yeah, it was a wonderful hot mess.
John C. Maxwell said, everything rises and falls on leadership. Employee engagement fell from 23% to 21% in 2024, according to the Gallup State of Global Workplace 2025 report. And the economic impact exceeds $438 billion in lost productivity in 2024, putting a spotlight on the financial implication of poor leadership. As John C. Maxwell said, everything rises and falls on leadership. Can leadership alone reverse a declining culture? And I know we're coming in hot right off the top.
No, 100% yes. Not even 99.9% yes, 100% yes. If, and let me say this, if the product is valuable, right? So if you're in a business where the product is obsolete or customers don't want to buy it, leadership is certainly tough in that market, but I would still say the right leadership would help adjust to understand how a company needs to pivot. So I'm still going to go back to 100% yes. Final answer.
And you say right leadership,
Yeah.
which reveals that there was wrong leadership.
There's ineffective leadership.
What's a lesson in your career so far that you have seen, like you come into a company with this failing statistic of clearly lost productivity? What have you seen become an instrumental change in the course of that company?
So starting point, and this is any organization I walk into, whether they're in a turnaround situation or they're thriving, is starting with the leadership team. The leadership team isn't aligned, if they're not cohesive, if they're not singing from the same sheet of music, if there's not high level of trust and vulnerability, then there ultimately will be cracks through the organization. And the more misalignment, the more chaos is driven throughout the organization, intentionally or not. But when the leaders aren't aligned, they're sending different messages through the organization that slows everyone down. It creates confusion.
When you come into an organization and you see that, and it's like, I see all of what you see as the problem, but what I see is the real issue.
Yeah.
Is everybody at this table?
Yeah.
How do you navigate that conversation?
So it's interesting. So if you go back to my roots, I started in kinesiology, exercise science. So my first job out of college was an exercise physiologist. And I used to joke because I'd leave my office and talk to my boss, and I'm like, it says exercise psychologist or exercise physiologist, but I think they're seeing exercise psychologist because they want to tell me all their problems. Different story. But part of kinesiology is the kinetic chain. So, a lot, people will come in and say, hey, my back hurts. But if you do something like a simple squat analysis, you can see that really the problem is in the way, their foot or their ankle is positioned, or, pronation or supination, or, inversion of the knees. So a lot of times the real cause is not what the symptom is. So in kinesiology, you kind of back up to what's the root cause, and that's where you start. But it's the same application within businesses. So, some leaders, when I have that discussion with them, because I'll be called and said, hey, our frontline needs management training. Okay, I can do that. That's in my wheelhouse. Are the behaviors you want to see in your frontline being modeled by your executive team? And if it is not a strong, resounding yes, then the conversation will be, we need to start with your leadership team. Because you can spend money on your front line, but they're going to look up to leadership and go, is this really important? Because the actions mean much more than the words. So by starting at the top of an organization with leaders, you then start to create a visual understanding, example, demonstration of what that behavior is. Then you get change throughout the organization.
I've seen a lot of organizations don't have clarity from the top. They don't even realize why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because they've grown from the small startup to depending on the fast track of growth, to this behemoth. Yep. And they're still operating with the same startup mentality without real clarity of what are we really here to do. And companies spend an exorbitant amount of money on the mantra or the slogan of the company, but you could put any company name on it. You know, we sat with Scott McClellan with HEB, and their motto was, "We just make better shit."
That we sell shit other people don't.
And it just, you know,
in the middle of River Oaks Country Club.
And it just, like, there was such clarity in that.
Yeah.
That it makes people want to get up on that trailer and ride that train.
Yeah.
You know, because that's something that everybody wants to believe in. But so many companies get stuck in this vanilla slogan that sounds good, but it still doesn't offer clarity.
Yeah. And backing up a little bit, especially when you go from that entrepreneur into some big behemoths, is that the right word we're saying? Behemoth. So when you go from that small to that giant, is a lot of times the owner, founder, CEO thinks everybody knows. Like, oh, they know. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, they are convinced, like, well, I've told them before, they know the strategy. And, you know, this over communication of clarity is so critical, is that you don't just say it once. Mm-hmm. So I use the example all the time with brushing a teeth, right? Is you're raising children, you don't tell them one time to brush their teeth and never say anything again, mm-hmm. right? There is years of progression of, you know, reminders and checks and dentist and, you know, correction and, you know, are you really flossing, and use these little tabs and can we see, checking the toothbrush at night before they go to bed, you know? And it's not, I'm not saying micromanaging is what needs to happen, but, you know, we need to be so clear that we know that they know that we know that they know.
My little one, 6 years old, hey Dax, let's go brush our teeth. Hey, he's kind of like, he's busy. Hey Dax, I'm gonna go brush my teeth. Want to do it with me? Yeah. It's the act of doing it together. Yeah. And then he sees me doing it. Yeah. That's leadership.
Leadership is visual.
Mm-hmm. This is how I do it. See how Daddy's doing it? Oh, that makes sense, right? Because the clarity. Yeah. That makes sense. Now, my daughter, tell her the step by step, and she'll do it. But both my boys were very visual. It's so funny when I think about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But even telling her step by step, if you never brushed her teeth, do you think she would think it's important?
No. That's very true.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, they won't think it's important. Actions
are the separator.
Mm-hmm. That's such a...
Wonder who said that.
Such a binary, powerful phrase. It's good.
It grounds you, right?
It does.
It grounds you. It's non-emotional. It's reality. Is what are the actions saying?
I mean, I learned it as an athlete. You know, getting beat at the finish line by wheel length as a cyclist, or, you know, in a triathlon, and it's not subjective. It's very objective. You were either the fastest that day or you were not. Yeah. And if a guy beat me and I gave everything I had that day and he beat me by a wheel length, that means I have 2 wheel lengths of potential to train for.
Yeah.
Because I remember, how old was I? I think I was 19. I was doing this course, and I'd won it 4 straight years in a row. When I crossed the finish line, the race guy was like, "Hey, I'd maybe not compete the next year."
Yeah.
Why? Well, let's give somebody else a chance to win. Well, they can out train me then. That's unfair to them.
Yeah.
To let them win? No.
Fun, fair, positive soccer. Come on.
It pissed me off so much. How dare you ask me to not? I didn't know if I was going to win that day. I don't know if somebody else was going to show up that day and be better than me.
Yeah.
Put in more work. But it was the first taste of mediocrity at scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let somebody else win. No, I can't.
Yeah. And you asked earlier, but I think that's some of the lies, is that, you know, especially as a female, you were sometimes taught not to outshine people or not to make others, you know, look lesser than.
I even see that with accolades.
Yeah.
Really appreciate what you did today. Oh, it's just part of my job. People gaslight themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing.
Yeah. Because we think it's humble, but it's actually...
It's destructive to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
was I read actually this morning when it was talking about parenting, which is very much like leadership.
That's where I learned the most.
Yeah. Yeah. Our kids are
And it was a costly lesson too.
Yeah. Kids are a mirror. Every relationship is a mirror.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people miss it.
Yep.
It's not, that's where people miss it.
Yeah.
They don't see it for what it really is meant to be. This quote with kids, it said, when you criticize your kids and you just browbeat them all the time, they're not going to stop loving you. They're going to stop loving themselves.
Interesting. Very truth. A lot of truth in that.
Mm-hmm. And I see that in the workplace. I see that a lot. It's hard to build an innovative culture that it's like with Scott McClellan.
Yeah.
People don't want to be innovative if their ideas are constantly shot down. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point.
Yeah. An interesting point with innovation is innovation typically will only happen in organizations that embrace failure. Because guess how innovation happens?
Right. Fail.
Yeah.
Thomas Edison.
Yeah.
I love this example. 1,500 attempts before he actually turned on successfully the commercial light bulb.
Yeah.
1,500. Most people after 2 or 3 attempts are like, I can't do it.
So as a leader, how you handle mistakes will determine whether your organization, your people, your process, your product is innovative.
When somebody makes a mistake, it's not, I've usually, unless this is a problem person already, but somebody makes a mistake, and let's say it is impactful somewhat, financially, culturally, how do you handle that?
So I think I've handled it differently through my career, and I think I continue to grow and evolve. Because most people, what I've found, are harder on themselves than I can be on them.
Yeah.
And it does determine kind of the nature of the mistake, right? Or the impact. Was it intentional? Was it unintentional? Was it the first time they've ever made that mistake? Is it kind of out of character? Is it now a trend I'm seeing in them and their behavior?
Right.
But a lot of times I'll just lead with questions understanding first, and maybe there was a really good intent there and it didn't quite work out the way it did. And then this really future of next time, right? What do we want to do different next time? Or how can this be different in the future? And then you're starting to move forward. So going backwards and should have, would have, could have, our brain doesn't compute it. It doesn't understand it. It typically brings up defensiveness and puts distance in relationships versus building stronger. So I'll tell you, a lot of probably the relationships I've built with team over the years is because of mistakes and how we handle them, and trust becomes stronger on the other end of it.
It's a lesson.
It is. But the interesting part, and probably the hardest part, is when people aren't aware they made a mistake. And trying to maneuver into their own awareness of the mistake. And if they are aware, they typically will self-correct. But that's the hardest part, is to get them to catch it without.
Which is a coaching opportunity.
Yeah. And then the other piece with that comes back to trust. So if I give you feedback without trust, it feels like criticism. But if we have a strong level of trust, I can come at you a little more straight, a little more forward, and it's still received very, very well, because you know that I've got your best intention in mind and I want greatness from you.
What would that sound like? Like a good example of how to bring something up and frame it with the intent of the lesson.
For someone with high trust, or someone you're still building trust with?
You're still building trust.
Still building trust with. I would ask, hey, how do you think that went? Is there anything you want to do different next time?
Letting them think it through.
Let them think it through.
Okay.
And sometimes we're on the exact same page, right? There's been a time that I'll have to ask, hey, were you aware of this part? And sometimes they're like, oh my goodness, I had no idea, right? And then like, hey, for next time, here's what I would suggest for it to either land better or have better impact, or the result to be different. And then you just kind of talk through it. It becomes that coaching moment. Because if they're not aware, it's hard to hold them accountable for the first time. right?
Yeah.
Now, if I see a pattern or a trend, it becomes a different conversation. But I start with, hey, I've seen a pattern or trend I really want to talk with you about.
What about somebody with high trust?
High trust, you can, and maybe this is bad because you can definitely bankrupt the emotional bank account with trust sometimes, but you can be a little bit more straight, and timing matters too. But like, hey, tell me about this. Like you can kind of come at them a little bit stronger, and most people typically own it. Like, yeah, okay, that's on me, and we just keep moving forward. But we've had a practice within the teams I've had for unfortunately decades now, and we call it onions and roses. Right? We share what's going well and what smells good and it's exciting. And then, we share, hey, I stunk it up here, definite onion. I've learned from this. This is takeaway. I'll do this different next time. But when you have that trust, which brings vulnerability within the team, you can have those discussions and there's not a blame game. There's not defensiveness. We know the intention is to make ourselves and the team better, the organization better. You're not pointing fingers.
I've seen that firsthand. And usually it trickles down to oftentimes where everybody will start to give their onions and it starts to become like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
I can kind of, let my guard down a little bit. But the people in like real leadership give like this small little pathetic onion.
Yeah.
That everybody already knew anyway. It was like, no, I just showed you mine. And now look, because I see that as, because that's where that trust is built.
That's the trust.
Right?
And the higher the trust, the more vulnerable. Now, again, you don't want coworkers or a boss that are incompetent, right? That's not what we're talking about here. We're just talking about being human.
But if you can articulate an onion, then you're self-aware.
Yeah.
You're not making it up.
Yeah.
Especially on a team when it's like, hey, you forgot about that one thing that we actually talked about this morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it becomes, when you start to embrace more of the onions, the roses actually, I think, start to smell better.
Yeah. But with high trust, you can have that exact conversation. You can sit in a room with 8 people and say, hold on, that's not your biggest onion.
Yeah, that's true.
And,
that's very true.
Again, that's sometimes awareness of we're not, although we experienced it, I think awareness comes from reflection and, this time to learn in many cases.
But if you're constantly in a state of being defensive, like you're on guard because you feel like you can't make a mistake, then you're gonna completely overlook and avoid onions and mistakes.
We go right back to fear, power, ego, right? If I'm protecting my ego, if I'm afraid of loss of power, fearful of looking like I'm not competent, all of those our brain will go into protection mode.
Because what that will do, what's going to happen if I'm honest about something?
Yeah.
But sometimes I met with, had a life and divorce coach, Cheryl Edwards on, and we were having a conversation before the podcast and we were talking about relationships.
Yeah.
And she said oftentimes, and she even did this in her own life, that you'll find yourself in a really healthy relationship. You're around good leadership for once in your lifetime, but you've brought baggage from a bad experience. And she said, I would find myself creating situations that would evoke those toxic behaviors out of somebody who really wasn't that way because it was familiar.
Yeah.
So it's getting to understand each other and kind of seeing where people really are to know how to guide them.
Yeah. So if I grew up in a toxic relationship or family or, had trauma, that is my normal.
Right.
So, and our body likes to get back to what normal is.
It's not good.
So sometimes it's understanding that I've moved into a new normal and I can leave those, that past behind, but the body likes homeostasis. Like we like being in this comfort zone. Habits are these routines that really kind of protect our brain power, so to speak. So we don't have to think about it too much of what we're doing. But as soon as something becomes a habit, I've lost awareness. So, to your point, as soon as she's aware that that's happening, then she can start to make the growth decisions to move past it. But even in that, it's not a flip of the switch. It's a slow process.
I think as an athlete, which has been my lab of most of my life lessons, you're going to lose way more than you win.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But we weren't really taught how to look at a loss.
No.
It was, well, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
It's not in you. No, it's in you.
Yeah.
It takes the loss to pull it out of you.
Yeah.
So it's constantly had me rethink because we're going to lose way more than we win.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes wins taste so sweet. I have learned in life this, we kind of have this audacious expectation of life to only experience everything from 0 positive.
Yeah.
And we should have nothing 0 negative. But if you really want to taste a thrilling win, I'm talking top of the top, you're also going to have to experience the absolute suffering of the most tragic of losses.
Yeah.
That's the balance of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which means when you show up every day, it's not today we're going to win. No, today I'm going to lose a lot. But I'm going to learn from those losses to get the win.
Yeah, and there's some great sayings. There's sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, and that's a John C. Maxwell. There's the not yet concept of I've won or I haven't achieved my goal yet, and I think that's a very positive, forward-looking. We were having a discussion with a colleague yesterday about Olympic athletes. So on the podium, who do you think is the most devastated of not winning? So gold is obviously, in their heyday. Second place or third place? Who do you think is more disappointed?
Second.
Yeah.
Because they were right there.
They're devastated. They lost, right? They lost that gold medal. Bronze.
First place.
They're just happy to be on the podium. I made it, Mom.
Yeah.
So it's that psychology of what story are we telling ourselves. And, there could be someone saying, hey, I'm the second best in the world. Right? But it's typically not the story we're saying. We're saying we didn't win. So we miss sometimes that appreciative inquiry piece of what went right, right? Where did I get? What did I achieve?
Yeah.
How do I build on this? And that's that growth mindset, Carol Dweck. And she's the one behind the not yet. And she put that, she started in the school system. If it's not pass or fail, it's pass or not yet. And it creates a completely different mentality of I can continue to learn.
Annika, sitting right there.
Yeah.
A mutual friend, Annika Newell, our 3-time Olympic pole vaulter friend. And she said, it was my tears in her eyes. I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
Like it struck her in her, when things were kind of crashing around her.
Yeah.
But she knew inside, she's like, I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
And it's that thing in you.
Yep.
To stop looking at the loss as proof you're incapable. It's actually the moment when you get to go, I believe in me more than I'm going to believe in the situation.
Yeah. I think the other piece is how do we handle losses in our life? So one of my colleagues and I sponsored a calf for the calf scramble for Houston Livestock and Rodeo, right? So we had a good friend recruit us in. She's on the committee there. And part of our being rookie year is we sat with the over 3 hour, I think maybe a bit longer, debrief with the kids before they go out and actually do the calf scramble. So they come in, they've got, they're really building leadership in these, young students, responsibility, all of this. But there were extras that came. So I want to say there were 3 extras that came. So these 3 extras are not in any other night. They come that one night. Poor parents drove them down to NRG, and they were down there in the stadium, right? A big commitment. And they only get to participate or compete if someone doesn't show up. So at the end, they had a gift card drawing for the alternates, and $100 gift card. And there's 3 of them out there, and they draw 2 winners. I will tell you, my heart sank, and I nearly pulled a $100 bill out of my wallet, which I really have cash, but I did. And I'm like, I got $100 right there. I'll go give it to her. And our sponsor said, no, we teach these kids how to lose gracefully. And I was like, there's the moment. Yeah. And so many times as parents, and I think that's why some of our younger generation is the way it is, we want everything to be perfect for them, right? And we will manipulate situations sometimes so they win or they succeed or they feel like a winner. But man, that ability to lose gracefully is such an important skill to teach. And those that have it, and Annika has it. I've watched that, woman go in at the top of her game and not, have the meat that she wanted. And she picks herself up, head held high, shakes the hand of every judge there and says, next time's going to be better. And those aren't her words, those are her actions.
Yeah.
So, I'm super excited to see where she continues to go, because I don't think she's done yet.
Yeah. I mean, with an attitude like that.
Yeah.
But I think that, again, that's where it starts, is your own belief in yourself, which sometimes is hard, but all you need is one little bit.
Yep. One ray of light pierces the darkest of nights.
Simon Sinek, one of our favorite people, said, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. How can leaders reconnect their teams to a meaningful why when morale is low or turnover is high, or both? Yeah,
so interesting. I just worked with an executive group earlier part of this week, and we were talking about purpose. They're in a transition, 50-year-old employee-owned company, but their why is not super clear right now. So we kind of came in and going through, just some Q&A and questions, trying to get the thought piece out of them. And they were struggling. They came up with these really elaborate descriptions of their why and their purpose, and it was not going well, I'll be honest. I was like, okay, where do I go from here? So I said, guys, let's back up. Why did you come to work here? And we went, there are 8 people in the room. We went around every 8 about why they went there. And what I loved is one of the executives said, I don't know if it's really the reason why I came here, but it's the reason I stay. And I said, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So different organizations have a different purpose, but the ones who do it best understand why they're there. And it drives everything else in the organization, every decision that goes off of it. So we work with another organization. Their purpose is financial stability for their employee owners. They're another ESOP organization. So financial stability for their employee owners. Every decision and strategy they make come back to that. So sometimes, purpose is community, right? If I'm a nonprofit or a church or something of that such, sometimes purpose is the employee, right? Creating an employee experience or a financial pathway. Sometimes it's about a customer. Sometimes there are companies that are in money to make money. And if they're not true to that purpose, it certainly looks like a fraud. Yeah. But, really understanding why are we here is so critical. And it does fuel everything else, and just very strong foundation.
I'm seeing a lot of the social successful entrepreneurs crumble. Yeah. I'm seeing it. I've been watching this the past 8 months or so, and one by one, their facade is crumbling. And people just had enough, or they bought into it and they realized this was all just smoke and mirrors. Because they're trying to sell a secret sauce of a fast track to success. Yeah. But especially in your career, and then also where you are now in executive coaching and leadership, these companies you come to, success didn't happen on a fast track. This has taken a long time to build that company to the size that it is. Because I think sometimes people are avoiding the fact that if you want to improve or accomplish anything, it's going to take some work, and it's going to take the losses. You just can't have this assumption it's going to be win after win after win. I had a coaching call last night with a company sales team, and it was, the path of success is not green checks. Yeah. It's a shit show. Yeah. It's all over the place. It's more red X's than green, but that's part of it. So when you have a hiccup or you lose an account, or it's not proof. Again, this is where you're finding the direction for you and what you're doing. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But with these executive teams, like in that sit down that you did, clearly if they knew how to do it, they would have come up with it on their own. So they need that guidance. Yeah. Did you kind of have that aha, or did you see the aha moment with them as it kind of became real of, like the person said, wasn't why I came here, but it's why I stay here?
We are, we've got a spark, right? There's still work to be done on building the fire, but the sparks are happening. But to your point, they're in a transition of an organization where there's been a break of trust in the past in the organization and a lot of doubters. So when you're an executive team and your intention is to do the right thing and you're starting a new process, it still is a slow build. And sometimes it's hard to stay your course when there's still doubters in the organization. But it's so critical.
There's one company, First Form, actually.
Yes.
They have built a culture where from the top, they wanted to build a company that their employees didn't have to have a dual income. Right? That was a core element for them. They originally started the company because they had supplement stores and they wanted to develop their own in-store brand, which became First Form. High quality, high margin, but they maintain a price point, and for the longest time you could only get it on their website or in their stores. But when you see their culture, they have created a way to where you wouldn't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Fully functional gym, cafe, their podcast, like the events they're holding, their Summer Smash this weekend, which is this annual huge event. But they've created a culture that people want to be a part of. Now, there's also some structure in place of what it requires of you.
Yeah.
Because you can't just come there and play all day, though it looks like it on social media. There is a high element of discipline, and you see it in their gym that people use all the time. But you know what's crazy? People will go in that gym at random times within this facility, and everything is perfectly aligned. People will they'll go into a convenience store where they sell the First Form drinks.
Yeah.
Customers will face all of them. Everything else is out of whack, and they'll promote. It's like, this is the culture we built with this brand.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
even our customers.
They've hired people that believe what they believe, which means you don't have to have the crazy amount of rules and structure. You still need some, but when you hire people that believe what you believe, you start to create, and you use that word create, right? They didn't start, they have created over time. And then your brand, as you know very well, is translated through your team to your customers. And when that brand is translated strongly, you create fanatics. And that's where your brand loyalty comes in.
To see that even a customer is going to proudly go, this doesn't look right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to blast it. Nope, doesn't care about any other can brand.
Yeah.
But First Form.
Yeah.
And it's because there's something they're buying into, because it's more than a drink now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's this belief system. As a company's grown without that, and it's just grown as the utility of business, the utility of scalability, the utility of the product and service. And you start to notice this, this plateau.
Yeah.
In a company, like it's kind of like Annika. They feel like there's more in them.
Yeah.
But they're seeing this decline. They're seeing morale kind of get stagnant, and it's showing up in their P&L.
Yeah.
How do you course correct that?
So when you talk about growth, as we are coming up in the early years, and I'll use life for example here, right? So as babies we grow, we don't really think about it. Our body just does it naturally. We get stronger. We acquire more skills, whether it be walking, crawling, running, over time. And then we're in the school system where we're learning social behaviors. We're learning both academic, all of these pieces. But as adults, we have to be intentional about learning and growth. And what I found is it's the same in organizations. When we're starting, a lot of times that learning, because we've never done it before, or it's new, or we have to figure something out, or it's the David and Goliath story where we have to prove something. And then all of those learnings and innovations start to happen naturally. And then as you mature, if you're not intentional about that growth, and it still has to start at the top leadership, is that you start to decay. So nothing stays the same, right? We're either growing or we're decaying. So if you as a person don't go into intentional growth to grow your own leadership and your capabilities and your skills, you'll start to stagnate. If a company doesn't intentionally invest in their team, their people, their technologies, their products, they'll start to stagnate. So it's just that ability to kind of reflect and go, what are we doing to pour back into our leaders, to our team, to our product, to our customers, to keep it growing.
It's funny you say that. Last night, as I was just thinking, which I've allocated more time to doing.
Yeah, it is actually pretty powerful.
It is. Yeah. I'll write down, and one thing I wrote was, we will fall into old habits, but we step into new patterns.
Yes.
Which is the intentionality.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna do that until you've become self-aware to realize what are the habits that are not aligned with the version you aspire to be or the version you feel like you're destined to be.
Yeah. So if the vision for the future, which we call a replacement picture, isn't stronger than the habit that exists, we will fall back into the old habits. So, for personally, sometimes it is if your goal and your own why and your intention isn't strong enough, you settle back into patterns. So one of the questions I like to ask is, where are you settling for just good? And it's great for individuals, it's great for companies, because then you start to find the points where you've got possible decay or that we're not paying attention to. Settling.
As I've peeled back the layers going from, how do you achieve the outcomes you really want? And, I've peeled it back over the years. Tony Robbins, when I first heard him talk about the 4 pillars, it was outcomes is, a fruit of your actions are a fruit of your decisions are a fruit of your belief.
Yeah.
My question was, where did the belief come from? Which was the repetitive thought.
Yeah.
Right? But what's the origin of the thought?
So
it's focus.
Yeah. And belief system is huge, right? So it comes from our experiences. It comes from how we're raised. Some of it becomes of just our personalities sometimes drive what that belief system is. But, there's that really cute Pixar movie, Inside Out. You ever watch that?
Love
Oh my
that
goodness.
movie.
We could teach like a whole leadership and emotional intelligence series just on that piece. So much to unpack there. Unbelievable. But right, it's those experiences over time is that, I remember growing up, my youngest brother was, he was a talk a lot. We were in the neighborhood or knew people or, going everywhere, anywhere else. And I remember this one moment in time, he had his 5th grade birthday party. He and my daughter share a birthday of December 30th, which isn't a good time to have a birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
Between Christmas and New Year's and distractions and lots of gifts and going on. And no one showed up for his birthday party. Right? What does that belief do, to a child at that moment, right? Like, that was before, internet or cell phones. Like, you had a paper invitation going out 2 or 3 weeks before school let out, before, it's like you can pull together all the circumstances and go, oh, see why that happened, right? Yeah. But for a child, what does that start to do to your belief system? So, that's one experience, but each of us have, many traumas, that start to kind of shift of, well, is that true or is that not true? And my experience may say that's not true or that is true. And, I love the zeros and ones, right? We flip on, we flip off. So until we're aware and can unpack, like, why do I believe that way? So a lot of the work we do is around mindset, because that belief system will drive my thoughts, it will drive my actions, it will drive my behaviors, it will drive my performance. So if I want to change someone's performance, I've really got to get back to the root cause of their why. Yep. And why they believe the way they do. Otherwise, it's like picking the top off a dandelion, right? If I can pick the top off and it's fixed for a second, but that behavior or that pattern or that thought's going to generate right back up because I really haven't gotten to the root of it yet.
And people don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
They're just operating in autopilot.
Yeah.
Because it's familiar.
And it's a habit. Again, once it's a habit, I lose awareness.
Sitting with a lot of people over the years, and I hear their frustrations. A lot of times what I get a sense of is their conflict isn't really anything in the outside world. It's really the conflict that they're holding on to patterns that don't serve them.
Oh yeah.
Right. But that conflict comes out in how they're treating people.
Yeah. So we actually got a word for that.
What is it?
We call it limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And what happens is sometimes that pattern worked for you in the past.
Yeah.
So you've convinced yourself that's a good pattern until it's not.
Yeah.
And is it really serving you well? So I didn't mean to stop your thought.
No, that's exactly, the limiting belief. People are willing to change if they understand. Getting to the core, but then going, okay, this is where we are. This is what is, you have to respect what you've used to get you to this point, but it doesn't mean that you can use it any further. You got to be able to put that down.
Yeah.
Right. And be okay with putting it down. And that's where you kind of get uncomfortable in situations where I'm in new territory.
Yeah.
Okay. So where's my support system? Where's my circle of trust? There's one guy that I'm coaching, and he, at the sake of preserving what he felt was respect, he never really voiced his opinion.
Yeah.
And he's in a circle that would listen. I said, okay, then here's what I need you to do. I need you to go to the people you really do value and to open up and ask, say, look, I'm trying something right now in my life that I need your help.
Yeah.
And I said, just tell them you are having to get used to sharing your input and your voice, but because it's different right now, I'm trying to figure it out. Can I do that with you? With those people?
Yeah.
And I said, and then just exercise it. But first get the permission so that you have the room to do that.
Yeah.
And he was like, MD, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Absolutely. And you need those people. You need those people in your life. And that's your trusted inner circle.
Yeah.
And you can be vulnerable with them, and they can see who you are, and they can ask you those tough questions that you need to be asked to bring up your awareness.
My grandfather, he gave me a handful of nuggets. And one was, you're going to be the average of the five you are around the most, 5 to 7. Yeah. He said, but when you get into your career and you end up in a position of management, he didn't say leadership, he said management. Understand that your job is not to know everything or know how to do everything. He said, your role is to build a team that collectively you can figure out anything.
Yeah.
He said, but you have to be willing to have people on your team that know more than you do.
Absolutely.
That are better at that thing than you are. Because it doesn't reflect your incapability. It shows your ability to build a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't click until years later.
Yeah.
I had to go through my ego phase and trying to prove myself. It was the greatest aha.
Yeah. And again, sometimes people think the power is knowing and having all the answers and being right. And that's actually the opposite, right? Is to be able to have a team around you that magnifies everyone's strengths and talents and abilities and thoughts.
People follow humility with strength.
Yeah. It's a good statement. Should coin that one.
It's pretty good. Should record that.
Deep thoughts.
In a Harvard Business Review, 65% of employees say they take a new boss over a pay raise.
Wow.
This is a 2-part question.
Okay.
Because of that. What does that tell us about the real currency of leadership in today's workplace?
Yeah. So,
and then underlying that,
okay.
What is the driving factor that leads to such poor people leaders into influential roles, often mistaken as leadership?
Yeah. So this one, we unpack every day, I think. I mean, this is reality of our world, right? And here's my observations. I don't know if they're truths yet or rights, is that typically people are promoted because they're good individual contributors. So I'm good at my technical skill or task or whatever it may be, and I'm promoted, and I go from, doing what I do well to needing a completely different set of skills the next day, right? So, and I did it in my career, right? I was a good personal trainer, exercise physiologist, so they promoted me to a district manager.
To make everybody else good like you.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to tell my own story, and then I'm going to come back and answer yours, so don't let me forget to come back. So, 2 weeks in, I'm the youngest managing people that are all older than I am. And I went to my boss who promoted me. This is, well, it was Gold's Gym at the time.
Oh, okay.
And it just, we were almost on the verge of being 24 hour. And I said, this is just glorified babysitting. And he laughed his ass off at me. I just laughed. And I was like, why is he laughing at me? And he's like, Liz, it took you 2 weeks to figure that out. And I'm like, so being who
Actually, only one day, but I just voiced it 2 weeks later.
Frustration is when expectations and reality are aligned. So being who I am, my thought is there's got to be a better way, right? So, I didn't really know anything about leadership or management, at that time in my life. I had studied science elements. And I did understand people because I said, my exercise physiologist, they thought I was exercise psychologist. So, I was understanding people and change and the pain of change and creating a process for them and so on and so forth. So I just started studying leadership. And I got, I'll date myself, but, I had a district. So I had a lot of drive time and windshield time. So I'd buy those tapes and put them in the center console and, books on tape and listen and read. And I had at the time, my leader was a learner. So he passed on a lot of books and wisdom and so on and so forth. So I just put myself around who is doing this successfully, whether it be in a leadership role or a mentor within the organization, and learn everything I could. And what I figured out, and Brian Tracy was a big piece of this, was that successful people have routines. They have processes. So you can break down what they do into a process, and then once you know a process, then you can teach it. So Bob Allward, who's an author now, but one of the executives we used to work with, said, and I love this because it was such an aha moment for me. He says, Liz, if you can't explain what you do as a process, you don't know what you're doing. I was like, well, yeah, you're right. So going back to it, so what's happened across organizations is individual contributors who typically probably have some ego in there because they're competitive, they're driven, they're achievers,
they're good,
get promoted.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, it's a completely different set of skills that they need because it's not about them achieving, it's about getting growth and achievement through others. So it's a complete mindset shift, it's a complete skill set shift. And if they can't make it, they become that boss who's almost competing with their team, right? They want to be the one that's most right. They want to have the best answers. They want to have the most answers. They want to be the most creative. And they completely lose all of the talent on their team and they shut it down. So, one of our sayings, and I can't remember who to contribute this, is hire motivated people and do everything you can not to demotivate them, right? People's typically most exciting day on the job is day one. They're excited. The company hasn't disappointed them in the least. We haven't made any mistakes, which is, by the way, why I love teaching new hire orientations. But, having said that, is how do you understand who they are, why they came to the organization, what their skill set is, what their strengths are, and then grow them. And when you can grow them, then you automatically start growing up through the organization when you grow those teams. But, I think that there are narcissists out there. I think there's people that take credit for other people's work that have grown in organizations. I think people that have super, super high IQ, that when you talk about the smart elements of companies, of, strategy and marketing and operations and finance, have grown because they're super, super smart and have gotten that credit, but don't necessarily bring others with them. And if you go back to homeboy John C. Maxwell, our favorite here is, the highest level of leadership is, can you duplicate other leaders? And the organizations that know how to duplicate other leaders succeed for the long term.
How should a company then, if you typically are going to promote your top performers, when that clearly statistically does not compute to effective leaders, what should companies begin to do then when they consider people for a promotion?
Yeah.
Who are a top performer? I
think that it's in our definition, right? Is what are we promoting? And what are we looking for in the leaders? And, there are some competencies that are just really critical as you move up through an organization, right? Those ones. So if I'm building trust, I've got to look at, is this a caring person, right? If the person does not care, they will have a hard time leading other people. You have to love people to lead people. And if you don't, it just doesn't translate. I think the other element is, is their sincerity, is do they walk their talk? And can you match up their words and their actions, and is there consistency there? The other pieces are they reliable? They have that emotional intelligence to control their emotions. They show up as the same person every day. They're consistent in their behavior. So, it's not Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll situation where I don't know who I'm going to get that day.
Yeah.
And then the final piece is they have to be competent. They do have to know how to do their job. At least to the point where if I'm leading, I've got leadership competencies that I know how to lead other people. Because here's the thing is, leadership is agnostic, right? Once I understand how to lead people, it doesn't matter what industry I'm in, right? You can put me in retail, food, service, financial. Leading people is leading people. Yeah. So that career development before promotion is critical. And maybe the magic sauce and succession planning of really making sure people are have the experience leading people. And you can get experience leading people volunteering. Yeah. Right? Take people that are not paid or that don't have economic power over, and can you influence?
I was actually having cigars 2 or 3 weeks ago with a guy who's operations director for Amazon, and through this amazing conversation of kind of some insights into Amazon, it was an interesting statement. He said, as innovative as Amazon is in what they've created, the thing that they really miss on is the innovation of its people. Oh. He said, because they have tremendous resources available, but no clarity on what resources to use to help your specific career path. So he goes, you have to have somebody who's done it themselves and wants other people to do it too. He goes, but if that's not there, then nobody knows what to do and what to use. He goes, but it's all there. Yeah. There's just no clarity in the innovation of its people. I was like, wow.
Can we go back to that word, clarity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially now in our digital age, and information is at our thumbtips.
Oh, yeah.
Especially now with ChatGPT, and I mean, the ability to scale efficiency is immense.
Yeah.
But I look at ChatGPT, and I was explaining this to a group not long ago. You could completely overhaul and build this incredible 5-star kitchen. And all the appliances, everything top of the line, a completely stocked pantry, butler's pantry, and a store connected to your house. But some are going to look at that, and all they're going to do is use the microwave to make a Hot Pocket.
Yeah.
When they can create anything.
Yep.
So it's not for having a lack of resources now. It's the matter of not being resourceful.
Yeah.
And having to dig if necessary. Because nobody, there's this statement, right? Nobody's going to save you.
Yeah.
I get it. But it doesn't mean that there's people out there that don't want to help you. But you have to help yourself first. I heard, I don't remember who said it. They said, maybe it was Brene Brown. And she was talking about relationships. I took it as a whole in anything, but she said relationships are a 50-50. She said, and my husband and I, we committed, I could be at a 30 today. Well, he could be at a 70. So collectively they want to be at 100, but if collectively they're under 100, that's when they have a serious talk. And I kind of thought about that as we were getting ready for our sit down today, professionally, when that relationship of employment is a 50-50. The employer has created the opportunity and a guide.
Yeah.
But drive and ambition is your contribution to it.
Yeah.
You can't teach that. You can't give it. It's got to be on you.
Yeah.
But if the employer isn't giving clarity, isn't giving a lane to thrive in, then both are going to be unmet.
Yeah.
And you typically don't have the conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As you come into that and you're wanting to build this relationship with somebody that you can hopefully find improvement, and let's say within the company, there are a lot of resources there, but they're not really available to the person. What would you tell the employee who was feeling somewhat demotivated.
Yeah.
And there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Maybe the leadership isn't great, but this person maybe has a lot of opportunity, but they have to create it. What would you advise them if they're kind of feeling like maybe they're almost waiting for somebody to do it for them, or at least show them, you know?
There's a wait and see element in accountability, right? Is that before I take personal accountability, I'm kind of sitting back a little bit on my heels, waiting and seeing, right? Let me see what they do. We've got a lot of personal power to create our own pathways and stories and so on and so forth. One, we have to want to do it, right? So if there's want, then there is a way. But what I'll tell you that the biggest shift comes from really two things. Gratitude is what am I thankful for, right? How can I build from that? It starts to shift our attitude and emotions and energy when I become grateful for what the company has provided me or what opportunities I do have, or even the runway in front of me. And then, the other piece is curiosity. Is what can I continue to learn? What resources are here that I'm not using? Who ahead of me is doing it the right way that I can learn from and continue to mentor? So the want has to be first, but that gratitude, curiosity will start to stimulate better attitudes, energies, lift within the team.
Who was one of your first most memorable mentors?
Oh, that one is easy. So my first promotion to a divisional level, one of my peers at the time was also promoted at the same time, and he was a peer mentor, so to speak. Eric Jenkins became vice president of operations when 24 Hour Fitness created the Central Division. So they were heavily based in Northern and Southern California and had come out to Texas first with a Gold's acquisition, and then acquired World's Gyms, Q Club, Pulse Fitness, and it went on from there. So over time, we created this acquisition division that became the Central Division for 24 Hour Fitness, and then started building ground ups, and in some cases closed old gyms, moved them over, so on and so forth. This is at the height of 24 Hour Fitness, and we didn't have a competitor in Houston or anywhere else. Just completely owned the markets, and that's a whole different story to unpack. But he came in, and he was just one of those people that he taught me why way before Simon Sinek. He came in and took this industry at the time that was still leftover old bodybuilders, people that were either already genetically gifted and or were on some special supplements, and it really wasn't at the time. Although I came up through a science background, the industry wasn't about science or service. It was really about a little bit of vanity and feeling a little better and meeting people and being social and still kind of this competitive bodybuilding or fitness competitor world. And he came in with really this transition of why do we do this? And our why became changing lives. And, we were really refocused into the preventative side of medicine, understanding the science, service, and sales of what a personal trainer needed to be, created a system and a platform. But he taught us about passion, pension, and focus. And, he was, and I love this because I was just pregnant with my first daughter and learning how to be a wife and a mother and, all of this process as he modeled family, just tremendous love for his wife and his family. And, I remember because we'd have in 5 states, we travel all the time. And I will tell you the amount of time that women hit on him was unbelievable. Large African-American man, former football player, ring on. And we'd be sitting at a business lunch and women would come over and give him their phone numbers. It was unbelievable. But if his wife called, everything would stop no matter what was going on, what meeting we were doing. And he had to check in with her. Just so, that modeling of good, being a good spouse and being a good father. He had, or has 2 children. So and his belief in people beyond their own what they think their own capabilities are was there, and just modeled this way for me. So I, quite honest, at the time, I took it for granted. He'd given me my book, my first John C. Maxwell book called Becoming a Person of Influence. And he ended up getting promoted to a company level. And then we were on this fitness kind of segment of the company, and he wanted to go more into over operations. So he ended up taking a promotion up in Pacific Northwest, over really kind of running the whole, or a whole territory up there. Was killed in a car accident. So on his way to the airport for to go to his kind of new position, and garbage truck the traffic was stopped, did not stop, and just killed immediately. So that point is, it's always a reflection point, because he was in his 40s. He wasn't, he was probably 10 years older than I was at the time, but you just kind of reflect and go back to, like, okay, hold on, what was I taught? And I will tell you, the lessons he taught are with the entire team still to this day. Like, I can connect with someone that I used to work with, and, the energy and the passion and, the focus that, he was able to bring stayed with all of us. But then I got what I referred to as, I'm just going to say, not a good boss after him. And going from such a great leader who was a developer of talent and, humble, hungry, smart, all of those things, to someone that was driven by ego and power. Holy moly. Like, it nearly destroyed me. And I had that time in my career where I just had to learn to adjust and rely on myself and what I knew to be right, and, continue to grow. So, I tell people, you learn something from everybody and every leader you work for, either the way you want to be or the way you don't. And both lessons are equally as important to know, but to have those experiences and so on and so forth. But, when you talk about model mentors, holy moly, did I get a great one.
When you start in your career, it's kind of overwhelming. You kind of wanted to prove yourself. You could have a degree attached to you, and you want to use this to kind of, peacock a little bit. But I think one of the greatest impacts in anybody's career, myself, is having somebody that you connect with that does offer mentorship. And again, it could be peer, but it could be somebody maybe in a completely different division, but there's something about their qualities that you want to learn from and potentially hone within yourself, right? I think that's one of the greatest things that somebody can actually do to help themselves in their career. Not approach it as, I want to take from you, but looking to see how that could potentially work. Because walking up and going, hey, would you be my mentor? But somehow getting within proximity of people that you want to be influenced by.
So I think the great organizations do this, whether formally or informally. And, my son-in-law loves the organization he works with, but he's now coming up on almost 2 years in the job, and they already have him mentoring the new and up and coming people right behind him. And what's cool about mentoring is it actually works best when you're not the expert, right? When you've done it so long that you don't even think about why you do what you do. Sometimes you're not the best teacher. When you've just learned it and applied it and got the lesson, sometimes you're the best teacher. And I really applaud what they're doing, because it starts to teach leadership too at a young, kind of young position within the organization, but you start to learn how to mentor and lead and influence others. So I think it's a definite best practice. I think once we kind of get into our careers, it becomes, who's your inner circle. I mean, I've just got great people that if I'm kind of stuck, or I need to be pushed, or I'm feeling like I'm not pushing myself, I'll pick up the phone, and they just inspire you to want to do more or want to learn more. And I will tell you, when someone calls me and needs a thought partner or mentorship, or Liz, help me think about it different, I get as much out of the conversation as they do. It's not taken away, right? It lifts me. It helps me, see how to be more impactful, or maybe even remember something,
Makes me think things differently.
Yeah.
You know,
So I think it's the way we model it and the way we interpret it is it's not taken away, it's adding, it's additive.
I think that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about some of the coaching that I'm doing is it could be a text with one of the 911s having kind of a moment, things kind of went sideways, or it's a scheduled and you're sitting down and again, it's not that I have to know everything.
Yeah.
It's the third party perspective.
Yeah.
Fresh eyes.
Or asking the question.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes they know the right answer. You just have to get the right question so they become aware of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Because they do know.
Yeah.
You're just kind of helping them see it and dig it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And having the assurance.
Yeah. And sometimes the things we know are right, we're scared to do.
Yeah.
So we just need that little push or nudge or accountability partner to keep us moving forward.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
Former U.S. Navy SEAL Jocko Willink said, the author of Extreme Ownership, discipline equals freedom. Personal accountability within leadership often shapes the broader organizational culture to be more positively influential because it starts with the individual. Within the Extreme Ownership Doctrine, which I subscribe to this principle, though it may not be your fault, but in a leadership role, it is your responsibility.
Yeah.
What are some common excuses or blind spots that keep leadership and its teams from taking ownership of organizational failures?
You mean other than the power, ego, and fear? We keep coming back down to this.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I had lunch with Michelle McNichol, and she's CEO of Ariane Blue. She's started the company 6 years ago, former CEO of Wood Group, you know, very, very large, well-known engineering services company worldwide, in the billions last I saw. And she said, I'm just very intrigued. She's very culture-centric, culture-driven. She's succeeded through the engineering, world as a female, up to including being told she'll never be a project manager because clients don't want to work with females. So, she's overcome all this and, just taking some words of wisdom, and she's doing an executive breakfast for us in September. But she made a comment, I actually made her repeat it, is that a mentor told her that when she becomes the CEO, remember it's not about her. And it's so interesting because there's so many great leaders that have transcended, but once they get in that top seat, something changes. And again, I keep bringing it back down to these three words because they're just, continue to resonate, is that that top seat has a ton of pressure. Ton of expectation, and everyone inside and outside the organization is watching you. And with that pressure, it is hard to remember that it's not about you because it feels all about you, right? So that's why we love the executive coaching is, that CEO is everyone in that organization, they have economic power over. They control their paychecks, their livelihood, so on and so forth. And they need a strong inner circle. They need thought partners. They need people around them that keep them hungry, keep them humble, keep them, intentionally growing and seeing. And it can't be someone that works for you. It just can't. So,
there's going to be bias there.
There is.
Or fear.
And that ability to tell you what you need to hear is extremely tough when, your paycheck, is signed by them.
But you shouldn't have that fear.
Well, it's economic power.
Sure.
It's
power's power.
Yeah. Part of our DNA is this, status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, fairness. Those are our triggers as humans that if any of those are threatened, we go into this fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
So even when there's high trust, there is an underlying, if you're my boss, you're still my boss.
That's true. Jocko really talked about really personal accountability.
Yeah.
Or personal responsibility. Sal Frazella's CEO of First Form, which is Andy Frazella's brother. Andy and his friend Chris Klein are the ones who founded First Form.
Okay.
They were the original owners of supplement superstores in Missouri. Sal was a pharmaceutical sales rep for Johnson & Johnson, and his brother was like, hey, do you want to come and help us build this? Everybody around Sal said, don't do that. Worst mistake ever. They were doing quite well. But it was a risk on vision, right?
Yeah.
Sal said, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And as Willink emphasized personal accountability, personal discipline in leadership cascades down into company-wide standards of excellence or the lack of them. How can a leadership team, what things of personal discipline do you see in systems and processes, that routines that people have? What have you seen, or have you noticed a common thread of some routine elements that are common amongst these successful people?
Oh yeah, we could unpack this one all day long for sure.
Okay.
What I will tell you in leading teams, the piece we miss the most is setting clear expectations. Mm-hmm. Is we think people know, or they're talented and they should be able to do their job, mm-hmm. or, oh, they know what I'm thinking. I told them one time to brush their teeth.
Yeah.
Right. And if those expectations aren't clear, and then the next step, if I'm not consistent in following up on those expectations, then I end up with kind of this indifference through organizations, or this, well, my actions don't match my words. Mm-hmm. We say it's important, but no one really checks, or we don't have reports on it. We don't ever talk about it, maybe once a year at a conference. So it must mm-hmm. not really be that important.
Right.
So we start to get the misalignments that way. Am I on track with your question?
Any specific routines that you've seen people have for personal discipline?
Okay.
Because as Sal said, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah.
And so that it's going to start within your own life. And what elements of discipline have you seen, or any routines you've seen these successful people have, that there's some similarities?
Yeah. So I think the people that I've seen that have tremendous success have some level of goal setting in their life. Mm. And, it really starts with this clear picture of what success looks like. Mm. So, if I'm trying to put together a puzzle, I need that outside the puzzle box to figure out what the heck I'm putting together. Yeah. Right. And then successful people know what that vision of success looks like. Mm-hmm. And they're committed to moving that way. So they start to pull in pieces of information, systems, people, processes that reinforce what they're looking for and where they want to go. It's actually a part of the brain called reticular activation system, right? Yes. And programming, my RAS. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So mm-hmm. they understand that. So then when I set goals that are movement points to get to my bigger vision, they feel comfortable, they feel achievable. They're typically stretched goals. To the point where they're still achievable, but I've got some level of stretching of the rubber band, right? Mm-hmm. Is that I don't want to stretch this rubber band where it breaks, but I want to set my goals to where there's a nice little stretch. It gets me out of my comfort zone. It keeps me moving. It keeps me progressing. Mm-hmm. But those that are really successful kind of understand that. They're very clear with who they are, where they want to go, what they want to achieve. And then they just start taking the steps forward to move them toward that goal effortlessly. In a lot of cases, mm-hmm. when you're clear about where you want to go, you don't have to think a whole lot about right, wrong, left or right, who's in, who's out. You can start moving there.
Because you have to have points to measure progress.
Yes.
Because if you don't feel like you're making progress in anything, then you're going to lose the
and that's where the goals.
Yeah,
that's where the goals matter. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's the old routine of the SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable. Reliable, what I miss, attainable, realistic, and timely. I'll get them in there. Mm-hmm. So there's some formats just to make sure we're there. There's other elements that may look a little bit different than goal setting, about really kind of now, once you've got that vision of becoming that person, right? Mm-hmm. James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits, right? If I want to lose weight, it's not about losing weight, it's about becoming a healthy person. Right. So if I want to become a healthy person and I go to lunch and I can choose between a burger and fries, or, nice, grilled salmon with broccoli, what would a healthy person do? Mm-hmm. Right? I've already have this vision of them a healthy person. Boom. Right. I make the right choice, and it's again, more effortless.
Mm-hmm. I was having a talk with one of my guys, and he was just kind of displaced. Yeah. Kind of feeling a little lost. It's like, I'm not sure what to do. in that very statement, hindsight's always better than foresight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we're looking back on what we've done.
Experience is a mean teacher.
I said, okay, then what does the version of you look like in 10 years? Close your eyes, envision this person.
Yeah.
What do they look like? What are they doing? Just give me this picture.
Yeah.
What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? Okay. What would that individual say they should have done?
Yeah.
From your point right
Yeah.
now.
How'd that person get there? What was their first step? What was the first thing they did to achieve that?
And so it was so cool to see him go, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
To think about making decisions from my perspective of me in the future.
Yeah.
The future self, the higher self, right?
And your brain thinks if again, you're painting that picture and it's so vivid, your brain can accept that that already happened. So all of the excuses start to go and fall away. And there's now belief. We go back to that this belief system that that's attainable. And as soon as I believe it, again, I start to get on the superhighway. I get off the road with all the potholes in it.
This very much is what that partial discipline is. It's the discipline of putting new patterns in your life that allow you to shift your perspective, that allow you to now create beliefs that align with the version you aspire to be.
Yeah.
And it's not always I get up at 5 a.m., but even that, why am I getting up at 5 a.m.? Why is this a new pattern that I want to adopt? What is this doing? Is it giving you more time? Is it giving you time to start? Is it time for creating new habits? Like, what is it for, right?
Yeah.
Because if you just do it just to do it, and there's no why attached to it, then
Doesn't stick very long.
you have zero stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah.
Because you need a why.
Yeah.
Simon Sinek, one of our friends, and I love him, emphasizes the circle of safety and leadership.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about this. How can companies foster psychological safety, and why is it often missing in traditional corporate settings?
Yeah, that's a big question. That's a big question. So again, going back, we measure this.
I don't play small.
I know. We measure this. So Dr. David Rock, and I kind of mentioned these words earlier, but he did some research on what are the 5 psychological factors that create this fight or flight piece, right? If my status is threatened, whether I want to feel it or not, adrenaline's going to go up. That means blood leaves my brain, goes to my organs that are vital for me to run away, and everything else kind of falls away, which means my logic isn't necessarily at the highest point, right?
Short term.
So status, certainty, and that's not only certainty in my position, it could be even certainty in the organization. Where is this organization going? Do I have a future? Where do I play in it? Economic uncertainty and unrest within how that affects the organization can play into that. Autonomy is, do I feel autonomous to do my job? And that micromanagement or gaslighting or coming over the top, so to speak, will threaten that. Relatedness is, do you understand who I am as a human, as a person, and as a team, right? In groups and out groups will threaten that. And then ultimately fairness, altruism, right? And I've seen people react, whether it's them personally getting treated unfairly or if other people are getting treated unfairly. All right. I probably have a bigger reaction if I see other people getting treated unfairly in my own world. Right.
Yeah.
So that it's called the SCARF model, and understanding what my intention may be as a leader versus the impact that I'm having. So I'll give an example. We worked with one organization who the CEO would only fire people at 3:00 on Friday afternoon. His belief was that it was kinder to the person when less people were in the office or maybe distracted, getting ready for happy hour, and going into a weekend to give people what he thought was more dignity. What do you think the reaction and the impact of the organization was? If you were called into the CEO's office anytime on Friday, right? You're immediately in this reaction phase of, why does he want to see me? What's going on? So on and so forth. So again, his intention, there's situations we always hate where, you're in an organization that, we're at a termination point with a team member, and there's a lot of reasons that go into that. But his intention was to just try to give some dignity to the process. But the
association was,
the impact was horrible through the organization. Right?
You're checking to see if you got an email asking for a meeting.
Like,
with the Bobs.
I love that movie. We'll take every Friday off forever.
I am working 410s from here on out.
So, I mean, and that's one example, but we do things all the time. And one of the things that we do that, triggers that status the most is, why did you make that mistake? Right? Just immediately defensive and so on and so forth. Yeah. So the work we do with organization builds personal resilience. So we work at the individual level to go, how can I build self-efficacy? How can I really set strong goals that are innovative and look to the future? How can I understand my own trust and character? How do I understand the in-groups and out-groups, the teamwork and the elements that is? And then, how do I ultimately understand this altruism phase individually first? And now level up to, now what is my impact as a leader? Because so many times when you peel it back, the intention really wasn't bad, right? The leader's intention was not bad. The impact sometimes is, unrecoverable. So you just kind of have to understand those elements of, my approach. And a lot of times it's nuances, just small nuance changes in my approach.
Success is in the details.
It is. It is. So, if someone makes a mistake, we talked about this earlier going back, is, hey, tell me a little bit more, how do you think that went? Yeah. And so many times people go like, oh, it went so well. God, this one point I really want to fix. And now you don't have to come up at them with, why did you make that mistake?
Right.
And miss all of the other things that went right.
Right.
So it really is this growth mindset approach. It's this appreciative inquiry of, how are we moving things forward? Even, again, finding the goals of what's going right and reinforcing it is, who on your team are you just super proud of this week? Who killed it for you? Yeah. And what that programs your managers or leaders to do is start to look for things going right, look for people achieving. And gratitude and appreciation is really at the core of all of the way people feel engagement.
I was in a location of a brand that I used to work with, and they still had this card written from the CEO of just gratitude. Yeah. Still there. Yeah. Years later, still there. Yeah. Just being noticed for people, Again, it goes, they'd rather quit than, they'd rather have an exchange of leadership than get a pay raise.
Crazy. Crazy.
Because the value of, and I think what that's revealing is somebody that allows them to feel appreciated for the effort they bring to the table, even if it's not completely moving the needle in a grandiose way, but they feel like they are a part of the success. That at least they're getting up and dedicating themselves to treating every customer great, isn't overlooked or just expected to be, well, that's what you should be doing. Yeah. Well, I get it.
The core of engagement is, I feel like my work makes a difference. Yeah. And if you can connect people to their work and, heaven forbid, work they do well in their strength zone, then you really start to bring up that engagement element.
Again, I have a lot of quotes from a couple of our favorite people here. John Maxwell said, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. In your experience so far, could you equate maybe 3 specific traits that separate good leaders from transformational ones?
Great leaders from transformational ones.
From good ones to transformational. Could you pinpoint maybe 1 to 3 specific traits that you see contribute to that?
I'm having a hard time with this question because great and transformational are in the same category for me.
Good.
Good.
Good to transformational.
Okay, got it. So, this goes back to another one of my favorite authors, Jim Collins, of Good to Great. And he says, good is the enemy of great. So in that transformational leader, they never settle for good. They are looking at, how do I take that water that's 211 degrees, and it's surely hot, to 212 degrees, that extra degree that now produces a head of steam that will power a locomotive that just creates tremendous momentum in the organization. And it was really at that great level. So, I think the continued growth piece, I think great leaders do have ability to look in the mirror and be vulnerable, be humble, take ownership of the organization. And I think you said this earlier, is I may not have made the mistake, but I'm responsible, right? If it happened on my watch, I still have that ultimate responsibility. And then, I think the other piece is there's tie into the why, and it's not just making money, right? Whether it be connection in the community or connection in with the team, is there's some level of service attitude and service mentality to that position, is that they're not in the position for themselves. They really are there for a greater purpose or cause or a reason.
100%. Here we go, John Maxwell. It's in the book, the 21 laws, the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, right here. The 16th law is the big momentum.
Momentum is a leader's best friend.
Yeah. That was my question.
Okay.
Why is it a leader's best friend? Why is that so necessary?
Yeah. So I'll connect it back to the Jim Collins once again, right? It's the flywheel. Is that when you have momentum, things just feel easier. And, you can take the hiccups or the challenges or the mistakes and just kind of roll right past and keep going. I think the toughest situation for a leader is when there's a lack of momentum. There's either been past leadership's mistakes, or it's a new leader coming into a kind of demoralized organization, or you've been through tough economic times and you've lost momentum, and now you're having to step back into it because the growth and the progress looks messy. It's that up and down, ebb and flow that is tough, and you got to stay consistent with it. Yeah. So it's the man in the arena situation where you're just being watched and you're being judged and beat up on everything that doesn't go perfect. And things don't go perfect. It's a progression, and you got to build on it. And it looks messy. Growth looks messy. So, just being able to have the tenacity to stay with it and still be true to yourself and very true to your mission becomes extra critical when you're trying to build those momentum pieces.
According to a Gallup poll, companies with high employee engagement are 21% more profitable. So what do you think would be practical strategies that you've seen work to boost engagement through leadership development?
So I'm going to go back to that crazy word of intention, is that it just has to be purposeful. It can't be ad hoc. We're going to do a class here and a class there. Is really is with your organization, when you look at your strategy, one of your strategies has to be people, right? And the full life cycle, right? It starts on, a lot of companies have a great new hire orientation, and then good luck. Yeah. Hope it goes well.
Maybe we'll see you at the company picnic.
But to be intentional at each phase of that employee's career or team member's career along the way, right? How are we? Gallup has a great book as manager as coach. Is yes, there's differences between leading and managing and coaching, but this ability to have someone in the organization cares about my development. And how that's structured can look and feel different, but if you can't answer yes to that question, there's never going to be engagement.
The follow through. It's the one thing you learn, but then the application of it.
Because we get busy, get head down. I got tasks flowing at me. More emails than I can answer. Phone's ringing off the hook. Meeting
after meeting. When's the actual laboratory of the new thing? Right? Or is it, we'll talk about it for 3 weeks and then we'll be back to the way things have been. Right? And then it's just the same. Then trying to use a pizza party and let's go do some team building.
Let's put a ping pong table in. That'll fix things.
Let's get everybody a beer. Let's get them all drunk. They'll be fine. Right? It's all these little Band-Aids that I see, because it's all that people know. And bringing in a new adopted thought of introduction of a new ideology that can help kind of move the needle. Again, because let's say a consultant comes in and puts the new blueprint together, but then there's a point when that consultant's no longer there, and but that blueprint is. And somebody's got to be able to pick up the playbook and keep that thing going.
And that's where the roadmap and the intentionality becomes really important. Is in order to know a destination, I've got to have 2 data points. I've got to know the point that I'm at and the point that I'm going, right? So if I'm going to Google Maps, I need to know where I'm starting and I need to know where I want to finish. And it's important as you go into transformation efforts that you have those, is that I have a clear kind of measurement of where I am now, and I've got a clear measurement of where I want to go. And kind of like when I'm, on an airplane, is there's a flight path, right? I may have to deviate from time to time if a storm pops up, or there's traffic in the area, or delays, or so on and so forth. But I know that I'm going to land in the destination that I'm going to land in. Considering all other events go well.
That's a lot of gray area.
It is, and that's leadership. Leadership is the gray area.
One of the mantras is lead from the front.
Yeah.
And I think it's misunderstood.
I think so too. If you think about it, in our experiences, you've seen me in situations, right, where I'm leading from the front, I'm leading from the middle. Heck, there's times I'm in the back, literally in the back. Yeah. Right? Is that as a leader, you've got to be where you're needed. And when that team sees you visually, where you are where you need to be when you need to be there, you gain trust and respect and buy-in.
How do you pivot and go from leading for the front to? Let me think if I can think of this question correctly. People that'll lead from the front, and because they're in it with them.
Yeah.
But then there's a point where at times you have to remove yourself to be able to get clarity, because you can't always work in the business.
Yeah.
There's a point when you also have to be working on it.
Yeah.
And it's almost taking too much on, where then it's like you never let the team begin to find who that person is that they revere, to kind of take in that role, to continue that.
Yeah.
What's a better way to revisit the leading from the front? How can that?
So are you really kind of talking about succession?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I think there's a point as a leader, whether it be with an organization, just kind of in their phase of growth, that you kind of have to look in the mirror and go, am I the best leader for this organization right now? Or am I playing the right role for this organization right now? Because the role that I start playing in the beginning when we're small and wearing 14 different hats a piece has to grow into look like something different.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's times in the organizations where the visionary owner founder does more harm than good.
Yep.
Because they're still at 30,000 foot, and they're looking way into the future. And if the trains don't run on time, right, or donuts don't get made, then the wheels come off the bus. Yeah. So I think kind of knowing, typically, and again, this is where the consulting and coaching happens. Typically, it has to be sometimes acted on upon with an outside force, right?
A great example, Gymshark. Have you heard of their story?
I haven't heard their story. I know the product.
Young kid, Ben Francis, teenager, delivering pizzas in school. And he was a tall-ish, thin, but fit guy, but typical, no brand made clothes for that body type.
Yeah.
And so he just bought a sewing machine and started making patterns. He started selling them to his friends out of the back of his car. Anyway, the company grew, and he leveraged the influencer that the big name brands never thought to consider. They were looking at the $1 million endorsement deals, right?
Yeah.
And he leaned in on the YouTubers, the Instagrammers, right? And he would send them, and they became so loyal because he sent them stuff when they were small and they grew. One of the most incredible things that he did, and this is when Gymshark got to, I believe they had 5 global warehouses. They were valued at 800 and something million, with a potential PE to put them at close to 1.6 billion. And he said, I'm not the right guy as CEO. And he took a step back because his role was innovation. It was the culture. And they went through, it was about 6-8 months to find an appropriate CEO that he, and again, Gymshark grew when this kid was in his 20s.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then after about 4 years, then he took the role back.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an incredible testament to a young man and his character of looking at the success of the brand.
Yeah.
To be so forward thinking, I'm not the right guy for this.
And there you go, egoless.
Yeah.
Right? powerful to be able to make that decision, and fearless and letting go of the reins, because it is hard.
Yeah.
It is difficult when you've built all of that time to say, you know what, I can let go. I can take a different seat on the bus. Let me go where my strength zone is. But yeah,
there was, I saw him
real.
and I forget the guy's name. He owns Alphalete. You know what I'm talking about? Houston based.
I don't.
Christian something. They did a podcast together side by side, about the same age. Alphalete does roughly 50, 60 million a year. They also have this huge gym in Stafford that's kind of become the mecca of, it's like the new Venice Beach.
Okay.
Kind of. My son's been there to work out. He goes, Dad, there's cameras and tripods everywhere. But it's built for that, right? But to see those two sit down and what I noticed, some identical space, identical blueprint of influencer built, but the difference in the companies were a direct reflection of the difference of those two men, young men. And what I thought was so profound is Ben wasn't there to prove anything. You could tell that Christian was very humbled to be there with him. But Ben was like, I'm just here with another guy that's been doing the same thing I've been doing. But Christian made the company, goes, yeah, you're a businessman. I'm just a YouTuber. Which he saw that distinction.
Yeah.
But he's like, man, like you could see him going, where did I miss it? And to just see these two companies be so identical.
Yeah.
And it was just, we said everywhere, you're going to see someone in your particular industry that's going to think it different.
Well, I think it also comes back to, how do you measure success?
Yeah.
Right? What's success to you? And is it bigger and more, or is it, intimate and personal and, it's something you stay involved in? So, all of that matters, as you start to think about what that transition looks like for you as a leader.
The thing I've also known behind the scenes is how the people are in private.
Yeah.
Because there's a friend of mine that I've known for years that was a Gymshark influencer ambassador, and then somebody was with Alphalete. Yeah. Those two people were very different in private.
Yeah.
One was consistently the same kind of person. The other one wasn't, which comes into play of the consistency of character.
Yeah.
Because you can't be one way when you show up to the office and be completely different in private, and people have access to the private side.
Yeah.
Because when it's not the same person, that's where you have a lot of distrust. Yeah. In which I think is where the personal discipline comes in.
Yeah.
Of realizing this demands the best version of me every single day.
Yeah.
Because you can't fake it anymore.
No.
Right?
And I wonder, some of the leaders before social media, if they would have had the same impact.
Yeah.
Right. There was a lot of stuff that has happened in past that didn't necessarily show up, but now everything shows up.
I'm glad it wasn't around when we were kids.
I know.
Glad those things are staying back in the 70s and 80s, man. Final question.
Yeah.
Only 21% of U.S. employees strongly agree that their leaders help them see how their work connects to the organizational goals and their contribution to it. Simon Sinek says leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. If you, Liz, could rewrite the definition of leadership for today's world, what would it be, and how should future leaders begin to embody that version starting now?
Oh, goodness. That's a good question, MD. You made it the last one, so I can just take as much time as I need to kind of stay here. I think with leadership, and I'm going to talk out loud here for a minute, and we may kind of wrap it up, but I think leadership is a great responsibility. And, it's so interesting because it does rival parenting.
Yeah.
Is that you have tremendous impact on the people that you lead, whether you're sitting in the parent role or whether you're sitting in a leader, manager, CEO, executive. And, I think understanding the weight of that responsibility and every day having the intention to add value to other people, right? In my role, how do I add value to my team? How do I add value to my kids or my spouse or, those are my piece of influence. So, to take that back to a definition in very simple words, as a leader, you add value and hold great responsibility. To do good.
To do good and do better.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to connect with you and have you come in and help their company, what is your ideal client?
Man, so, at the heart, we're an executive retained search firm. So, we were founded almost 30 years ago around how we help companies build great leadership and executive teams. And through that process, we do a needs analysis to understand really what type of person they need. And that's a lot of understanding the culture, understanding the values of the organization, understanding the behaviors needed, and performance expectations. And when we would do that, we often, with the key stakeholders, would find misalignments in the organization. And because these aren't things people talk about all the time at the executive level, when we come in and start asking the questions, it's like pulling the thread on the dress, right? It's just, man, it comes off quickly. So, when our ideal client is this client that we get to work with in multifaceted. So, whether you're trying to add talent to the organization through succession planning or, an open seat on the bus, so to speak. We work really well there. If you've got culture work that wants to be done in either transforming organizations or intentionally continuing to grow, we do culture work through culture assessments. And then from a leadership development side, we have everything from a 3-week director to executive level coaching program that we do, or to individual coaching. So, it's really understanding what are the needs of the organization. And then we've got a relatively kind of one-stop shop when it comes to everything you need from leadership development and support, culture, and your top talent. And the way that we look at it is we really excel the organization. So we're not there to do anyone's job. We typically work most closely with the CEO and CHRO. But it's really about accelerating what they're trying to do inside the organization. And we're able to pull those data points for them and really build a roadmap of where they are and where they want to go. And it doesn't feel ad hoc. It doesn't feel piecemealed. It doesn't feel like the thing of the week.
Right.
It's really a cohesive approach to what we do.
How can people get in touch with you?
LinkedIn, website, cell phone, Sky messages.
What's the website?
I take them all. So we're allanaustin.com. LinkedIn, you can find me as Liz Townsend.
Office is here in Houston.
Office is here in Houston, but we work worldwide. So whether we're doing it ourselves or we're working through one of our affiliate partners.
Okay. Guys, I'd like to thank you for tuning in today to this sit down with one of my great friends and somebody in business that I truly respect and admire. Just remember, in your journey, you're going to make 35,000 decisions every single day, from the micro to the macro, and each one of those are going to have an outcome. So just ensure that as you wake up with intention, that those decisions align with the outcomes you really want, that are a part of the version you aspire to be. Until next time, be great.